Hello, and congratulations for staying for the last session for today. They told me they saved the best for the last session, so hopefully you guys are awake. I try to speak up so that you can still hear me and you can be paying attention as much as possible. So on today's sessions, I want to talk a little bit about our journey, who we are, what we do, and what are the things we learned in that process. So first of all, we are dubbed the first Bulgarian unicorn, which we thought is not that important until we got the status and we saw the amount of expectations people have from unicorns. So they were instantly thinking that we can now fly as individuals and we can just wave a magic band and do miracle things for everybody else in the ecosystem, which we are trying to do. So we started in 2018 with a shared desk of 2 people in a co-working space. Managed to go and launch our first customers in about 4 or 5 months. And then within the first 5 months of operations, we were able to bring customers from 15 different countries using our product. After that, we started trying to be very international from day one. In our region, we don't have the luxury of a massive local market, so we tried to turn what was kind of a defect for us into a fact. So we actually had to be international from day one. That really allowed us to build a very strong competitive advantage because currently the strongest companies that we're supporting are multinational scaling companies across multiple regions, and we're able to help them with their needs across the board with our payment cards and payment services. It took us a while to get to our funding. That was a quite tough journey. You're going to hear a little bit more about this. We got about 62 rejections from 40 funds. A lot of them rejected us twice. Some of them rejected us 3 times. But it was, I think, one of the most rewarding experiences once we managed to really lock our seed round. And then after that, we focused on hiring our first international employees. So we were just 7, 8 people, and we started hiring people in London, Berlin, and Barcelona. And we were already 10, 11 people in the company, but we were spread in 4 locations, which really helped us identify this kind of a international angle for us. Then we moved on. It was the year of 2021. This is where money were everywhere. You can raise. We were able to secure our Series A round, Series B round, and then in 2022, we were able to secure our Series B round. Fast forward, currently, as a company, we have 8 global offices. We are 310 employees spread across London, Berlin, Barcelona, Paris, Amsterdam, Sofia, Vilnius, and New York. We have raised about $240 million of venture capital funds. And we did the second largest Series B round in the region after UiPath. And with our extension, which we did a few months later, this was the largest Series B round in the region of $219 million. We have investors from, obviously, local investors like 11 Ventures, who are our pre-seed investors and supported us very early on. We were even sharing a room with 11 for the first 2.5 years of our journey, which was a quite interesting experience. And then we also moved to be able to bring US investors on board. A lot of those investors, like Lightspeed, Green Oaks, QED, invested for the first time in our region, and I think are now a lot more, positive about the opportunities that they have here, and we have been seeing them coming and exploring the area a lot more. Currently, we are serving 1,700 businesses in about 32 countries. And we focus on companies around transportation, logistics, SaaS, technology, and so on. So what we do business spend management. So we are helping companies manage company spend in a more efficient way. So we issue debit and credit cards in 32 countries with the ability to manage these cards. So your finance team can go and configure these cards to be used in the specific locations, in specific time of the day. And for the employees, they don't have to use their own cards. They don't have to do expense reports. As soon as they make payments in real time, they can attach their receipts into the payment system, and all of this information goes into the pretty much the financial system of the company, whether it's Oracle, Microsoft, SAP, or QuickBooks Zero, and so on. Currently, I want to focus on a few things. And the first question is, how do you build a great product? This is something that we get asked a lot. And the first thing we always say is that first, you need to build a great product, you need to find a big problem in a big market. And there needs to be a lot of opportunities for you to innovate. So if you're doing a lot of SaaS, you need to be in a market category that allows you to go and innovate. And if you go and build a very niche product, you have to ask yourself, I'm most probably going to build a company for the next 5 to 7 years. I start with this niche, but is this going to be a real company where I'm going to constantly continue and innovate? How big is the problem? How many people are having this problem today? And the second thing that is super, super important is you need to hire a great team that builds a great product, which sounds simple, but you really need to focus on your first initial hires, and you really need to focus on the motivation of those initial people and their why. Why are they willing to join your company? Because most of the time, they're going to be paid 3 or 4 times less than the salaries they're making today. Do they really believe the vision, and do they really are going to stick around when it becomes really, really hard? So why market is important? Because there is a very simple principle. If you have a chart where you have a poor market, a great team, or a poor team, there are 4 different stages. So if you combine a poor market with a poor team, that's a disaster. For sure, nobody's going to succeed there. If you have a great team and a poor market, that's a good effort, right? You all collectively try to do something, but at the end of the day, it is not worth it. If you have a poor team and a great market, you can succeed. And that is something that is really, really, really important. And if you have a great team and a great market, then that's a miracle. And that is one of the most important things, because nobody can be the market. You don't define the market, you choose the market. And that's why defining the market in which you're going is the very first step in the journey to become a unicorn or a big company. So let's get into the details, how to start a unicorn. So the very first thing for me was finding your why. Why are you starting a company? Because you're going to be you're going to face a lot of challenges. And if you are not true of the reason why you're starting the company, it is really, really hard. The second thing is get a strong partner. You don't want to be alone. You want to get somebody on your side that is really, really strong in his area and can be a true partner to you over the next 5 to 10 years. Because doing it alone is extremely unlikely and extremely hard. The third most important thing to me is cut all the safety net. I have tried myself to do startups over the weekend, startup during the night, but it doesn't work. You have to go and put yourself in a position where you have to succeed. There is no plan B. And that is something that we have been repeating to ourselves a lot. And the good thing is that, yes, you go scale down, you have lower salary, you are in a position where it is really tough, but we always told ourselves, okay, the worst thing that can happen to us is we need to go and find another job, which is not that scary. So you have to use that opportunity to go and push. But you have to make sure that you're not kind of keeping your day job just in case and so on. And as I iterated before, searching for a big problem is what we try to do with Payhawk. And that was something we were very deliberate about from day one. And the last and the most important thing that you're going to hear out through this during this conversation is don't run out of money. Regardless whether you have 10,000, 20,000, 20 million, or 200 million, don't run out of money. That is the most important thing because this is the most essential thing. A lot of companies, the reality is that they fail with a product. They fail because they don't have money, and they fail because they're not able to find product market fit. But they don't fail because they cannot build a product. A lot of companies, 90+% of the companies fail with a product. So how to build that product? In our case, we started the company with a hypothesis. On Monday, when we started the company, we rented a room and we said, we're going to, for the next 5 days, do a Google Sprint. If you haven't done a Google Sprint, this could be the most transformational things. I'm an angel investor in a company now in Silicon Valley that has done 24 Google sprints over the last year and a half, and it is still on the path of identifying really the core thing that they want to do. And they are doing, all the code they are doing is prototyping to actually simulate what the product could do. And that could be one of the most rewarding times. So for those of you who are not familiar with what the Google Sprint is, it's a concept developed by Google that allows you for 5 days to start with a hypothesis and then test it, build it, prototype it, and then sell it to 5 individuals on Friday. And this is something that we even do today at Payhawk. Every new big feature is required to go through a Google Sprint. So you don't go and build any feature that is big enough without actually doing a sprint and without actually trying to sell the features to 5 specific people. The next thing is try to speak to at least 50 decision makers. You're seeing on the background an Amazon gift card. So we started the company with 15,000 of savings euro as our initial capital. We spent half of it, maybe more, on Amazon gift cards just to convince finance people to speak to us. So we were approaching them on LinkedIn saying them, we are going to give you a 100 euro Amazon gift card if you dedicate 30 minutes or 45 minutes to speak to us, to show you a prototype, and so on. And that is extremely rewarding because at the end of the day, if you speak to the wrong decision makers or to the wrong companies, you might come up with the wrong problem, and then you're going to build the wrong solution for it down the road. The next thing we did as a hack and a shortcut, we started selling our competitors' products. So as soon as we identified a market category and we saw that there are competitors that are doing this thing, I took their websites and I tried to pitch them myself to those decision makers. I said, okay, imagine this is my company, this is what we do, this is how we price, this is the features we have. Would you buy it? You know, what is going to prevent you to buy it? And just observing the questions they're asking me, what are the things that they're concerned about, what are the things that they're asking whether it's possible with this product. And we quickly realized that these companies are on a very good journey, but the things that they're being asked for are on an amazing journey. So instead of going and chasing them to get a feature parity of where they are, we just went for where we knew they're going in 2 or 3 years. And actually, we were able to build it much faster because we didn't have customers, we didn't have code base, we didn't have anything that was holding us down. We could define a picture that was 2 years ahead of everybody else and just go for it. And don't distract until we go and get an MVP. Of course, the MVP was, just 1/5 of their product, but it was already showing the vision of where this is going, and that really intrigued a lot of customers. And the most important thing, again, don't run out of money as you are building your product. Going further, how to run your engineering team, which is really, really important when you're trying to build your product. The first and most important principle is try to keep an extremely flat hierarchy. You really want an engineers to be, to face to be as close to the problems as possible because they're going to be able to come up with a lot of solutions. And they're going to be able to hear exactly with you what are the challenges, what we are trying to solve. They're going to motivate themselves a lot more when they hear a customer that is sad or unhappy with your solution or somebody that's extremely positive about your solution. So, having a flat hierarchy, having a direct connection to the engineering team is absolutely important if you want to go and succeed at creating something that's disruptive. Also push for a full stack skill set. Everybody needs to be doing everything. In Payhawk, we don't have DevOps, we don't have QAs. Everybody is a full stack. Everybody does front-end, back-end, testing, setting tests, deploying, and so on. Because if you're an engineer and you cannot go and deploy code in a cluster environment, you have no idea what you're developing. If you expect the DevOps are going to do this for you, that's not a great setup. If you're building something and throwing it over the fence to the QA team to go and fix the bugs, that is a really wrong setup. And that really helped us have a very strong productivity. The next thing is your mini CEO and mini CTO. These are the product managers and the leaders of the engineering team. These guys need to be really, really strong partners. They have to make sure that they work together and they make decisions together. Because it would be I have been in many organizations where you have very strong engineering lead with very modest PM. This is a really bad setup. Or you have a very ambitious PM with a poor performing team because they're just being taught what to do and they try to go and deliver that. It needs to be a partnering, and a lot of people don't get this right. And the last thing is, after 1 million annual recurring revenue, you can consider splitting your engineering team into a current and future. What does that mean? As you're growing the business, as you have customers, as you're developing things, there is going to be a point in time when you're going to have regressions, you're going to have bugs, you're going to have questions from support, and all of those things are going to end up to an engineer. And this kind of disruption is really, really bad to engineers trying to build a new feature. So what we did at Payhawk is, which is still to this day, a principle that we always do a current and future split of our engineering team. So we have our teams built on different areas, and then every area, let's say 4 people, 2 are current, 2 are future. So the 2 people that are on current, they're in a firefighting mode. They're focused on a Kanban board, work in progress, fixing bugs, fixing small little things like a label was wrong, it wasn't well explained, the final touches. And the future, we lock them in a room, we don't speak to them for 3 months, literally, and we actually try not to disrupt them so that they can get and deliver this big leap that is really, really important for the business. And that has worked really well. And then once you deliver the big feature in 3 months, then these guys that just ship the feature are in current so that they can face the consequences of their code after 3 months in isolation. And that kind of dynamic really, really helped us set up the right pace of the business so that we can innovate and have a pace. And by the way, a lot of the competition is about execution. Once you get deep into a market, 1 million, 2 million ARR, from then on, it's an execution game. Because it is really hard for somebody to do, let's say, an amazing feature that is going to surprise everybody else. Because you're speaking to the same customers, your competitors are speaking to the same customers, you're in the same network, and so on. So what really sets apart companies after 1 or 2 million is really the execution. How well they can execute, how well they can hire people, onboard them, and continue. And I guess you know the last one. Again, don't run out of money. The next thing is how to build your team. And that starts from very early on. I'm a big believer that the CEO needs to go and personally recruit and speak to all the first 30 people within the business. So at Payhawk, we never hired within the first 35 people in the business anybody with a job ad. We always try to go and reach people, or we got people that were referred to us that we knew we are going to be looking for, let's say, an account executive. Somebody knew somebody from somewhere. Let's speak to them. Let's try to bring them in. But those were people, at least 2 or 3 or 4 people from the team knew, and they work with them. And that really allowed us to set up a really strong foundation for the business, because at the end of the day, after that, that is defining your culture. You have to be really, really clear about equity, awards, and titles very early on. So when we started with my co-founder from day one, and this is experience learned the hard way with other startups, we decided from day one to agree on a reversed vesting schedule. So we start at 50% each, and then over the next 3 years, we are going to be earning out this 50%. So if you quit in 19 months from now, you know exactly what you're leaving and what you're getting out of this business. And that was a very fair setup to release the pressure that you have a founder that is, co-founder that is there but not really pushing it hard while you're doing 18 hours workday. The second thing is our equity. So we set 10% for employees very early on, and we decided that we're going to do 2.5% for the first 2 employees, 1% for the next 3 employees, 0.5% for the next 4, and then 0.25% for the next 4. And that was a very clear setup, and it was actually a function of the people we were able to convince and to get into the business. So don't be cheap on equity. Use it as an advantage, because at the end of the day, this is why people are joining these early stage companies. And don't optimize on the percentage. Optimize on percentage of what? Because you might have 80% of something that is worth really very little, or 20% something that's really big. And a lot of people don't do that math, and they just try to always optimize for the maximum. And sometimes they're locking a lot of that growth. The next thing is, don't forget you're building a culture. Even when you have 30 people, you already have a very, very strong culture. And even if you don't have posters on the walls, or you don't have a culture deck, or you don't have a handbook about culture, you can say that your culture is who you hire, who you promote, who you let go, and how you do those three things. This is already defining, what kind of companies and what kind of behaviors you're incentivizing or not incentivizing. And the last thing that I want to step on is, as a founder, how to build your support network as a CEO. And that is something that really, really changes over time. When you start from a small team and you grow to 300 plus employees, your role changes a lot. And there are times where you need to stop, look at your calendar, and ask yourself, am I spending my time the right way? Am I investing my time in the right cadences? And do I spend the right time where I have to be, considering where we are as a company? So here is a small chart I did that explains a little bit about my journey. So the first thing is, what's my gear? My gear is an individual contributor. When we are 1 to 5 employees, you have to do everything possible, and you have to be contributing. And when you go on vacation and you are part of that phase, you feel that 50% of the company is not working, and you feel guilty about it because it is true. Half of the company is not working. The second thing is obsession. What are you obsessed about? It is hiring a team. It is really, really important that you can go and bring and motivate people on that journey to be clear on that vision. What you should start doing, recruiting a top team to solve that problem. What you should stop doing is the safety net I talked about. Support system is family and friends, and in the meantime, you should also be fundraising. When you grow the company to 5 to 10 employees, that is the first transformation of the company. You are still individual contributor, but now you have a meaningful team. Now things get done because you have people next to you. This is where you need to be obsessed about product market fit, really identifying and nailing down exactly what we are doing, and identifying the way you are going to be capturing value. Pricing market fit. Can you go and extract that market, that thing? What you can start doing, selling prototypes, selling visions, selling ideas. Try to get customers to commit. Try to get an early contract. Try to get something out of this conversation to identify that you can get there. You should stop being an individual contributor. You should stop being, if you're engineering background, you should stop writing code. You should stop building wireframes. You should stop selling yourself, even if you're a sales guy. You should bring somebody else next to you to sell, because this is where a lot of companies grow. They get to 10 people, 20 people, and the only person that can sell is the CEO. That is not how you are building a scalable company, and you need to force yourself to get a salesperson early on. Our 5th employee was a sales guy, and from day one we were selling. The next thing is support system is early stage founders. Go and I meet with other people that are at the same stage. And in my case, I was going every weekend, playing tennis on Sunday, and ventilating with a friend who was also building a startup, ranting about the VC market, ranting about how hard it is. But that was really actually helping me a lot, because I knew that I'm not alone in that journey. The next thing is 10 to 30. This is where you are actually building the first middle management in the company. You have the first place of managers. And your obsession should be making it repeatable. You already have a team, you already have some traction, you have to be able to make it repeatable. The next thing is, you should start at that stage is measure everything. Data is extremely important, and you're going to be able to go and understand what's happening, because you're already not on the front line all the time. You don't hear and you don't read all the emails, you don't read all the Slack messages, you don't speak to all the customers. A lot of things are happening without you knowing, and that's why you need an anchor, and that is data. The next thing is, you should stop doing is try to be everywhere. That's not scalable, and you need to realize that, yes, now you're scaling, and you cannot be everywhere. This is where early stage VCs can be a great support systems. Those companies are usually getting at that stage where you are in a seed round, and they can really, really help you get there. They can help you set up a board. They can set up governance. They can help you set up the dashboards. They can help you get benchmark. What is a good performance? What's a bad performance? They can help you benchmark what is a good candidate at that stage of the company and what's not a good candidate. So that is really important, and that's why the early stage investors are so crucial, defining your trajectory as a company. Then moving through 30 to 100 employees, then you're building, you're managing directors. Those are functional leaders. You're building, strong leadership management. You're building you can run the company in a SaaS cadence. So for those of you who don't know what a SaaS cadence is, you can look at what David Sachs has built at Yammer. It's called How to Run a SaaS Company with a SaaS cadence. And it is a very strong model where you're actually iterating in 3-month cycles where the sales and marketing and product and marketing and sales and finance are running in 3 different cadences. So you don't have to plan all the roadmaps, all the financials, and all the quotas at the same time, and you can do that step by step, and you can shift them so that when the engineering team is delivering their big bang features, it is happening at the final month of the quarter, so you can really accelerate sales and do the PR then. You should stop also being an escalation point. You should force the organization to solve their problems on their own. And of course, support system can be other scale-up entrepreneurs. And the last stage, at least I have seen so far, is really the from 100 to 300. This is where everything that was working before breaks. When you get to that scale, absolutely everything breaks exponentially. And this is where you are actually hiring your functional leaders. These are the first real executives in the company that are going to be managing a department much better with a lot more experience than you, and you need to trust them, but you need to also establish a very strong way to manage that kind of leadership. And what you should start doing is asking 3 times more questions. Instead of coming up with a solution, you need to ask questions and ask questions to really understand why things are this way, really challenge people, really benchmark them. And you should stop providing answers. People are going to have the old habit of coming and saying, we have a fire, we need to solve it. They have to solve it. That's why they're there. If you provide the answers, then everybody is going to stop by your desk and ask for this and that solution. And you should refrain yourself. And of course, if it's a critical situation, you need to step in. But you need to learn not to go and provide the answers right away. Otherwise, you're not building an organization that is able to be effective. And when you go on vacation for a week or 2, and when you come back, nothing is done because you are not there to provide the answers. And of course, this is where a lot of companies are looking into executive coaches and other set of support systems. So thank you for the time. Pretty much that was the message I wanted to convey and to share our journey and some of the learnings we have had along the way. So hopefully that was helpful. And you're going to apply some of those things in your own journey, in your own unique way. Thank you.
Thank you for the applause for him. Are there any questions? Let's see.
I think all is clear. Ready for unicorns. I think there is one there.
Yes. You can hand me the mic, and I will get here. It's easier. There.
Testing. Hello, Hristo. Congratulations for your success. A lot of inspiration for everybody in Bulgaria. Thank you. One question. There's, in the different stages that you described, a lot of focus you put, and that's great to hear, on the team and how you build the team, how you hire people, how you pitch them, the vision of the company and all of that. At what point you shifted from using external sources of talent to internalizing it, and how did that dynamic changed over the stages?
Do you mean, just to clarify, do you mean using recruiters or do you mean using external companies? So we have, everything we have built as a company is in-house. So we have never outsourced anything except maybe, let's say, early stages of our website that we decided that to put engineers on building the product rather than the marketing website. So with the exception of that, everything else in the company has been built in-house. In terms of recruitment, we always had internal recruitment. So I was playing that role for the first 30 employees. Then we hired a talent team, and they were doing the recruitment themselves. We also had a talent partner at Early Bird Digital East. So the fund had a dedicated talent partner team that helped me go and convince, the first German, the first Spanish guy, the first guy from the UK to work for a Bulgarian startup overseas, to quit their well-paid German job and to go and work for this startup out of Sofia. So that was where we relied on external people, but they were kind of extension of the team, and this is how we have always thought about our venture capital investors.
Thank you for the answer. Are there any other questions?
There is one there.
Yes. Thank you.
Really impressive journey so far, and I'm sure it will continue that way. I was wondering, you must have had a lot of hard times, and you've talked a little bit about your support system. Were there any other sources of motivation that you found that kept you going when the going got rough?
Well, I think, of course, family is one part, friends is another part, but I think at the end of the day, the motivation was the deep motivation. I was thinking about, I always, pride myself that I try to work hard, but, I was working harder than ever, and I was getting home really exhausted, and we couldn't get it work. It was so hard. Like, we got so many rejections from from VCs, and I think the motivation was really the desire to succeed. Really not having plan B. That was the motivation, that I don't have another option. I have to push, I have to do it. And the thing is, I already convinced a lot of people to join, a lot of people I hyped and motivated to be there, and I was feeling responsible for that as well. And I already got angel investors that were in the business that I didn't want to disappoint, so I put that kind of pressure on myself on purpose. And to me, that was the motivation, that I don't have plan B, I have to do it, and I have to figure it out. And the most important thing was not to have an ego when you go and approach a market. And when a customer is telling you, I wouldn't buy this, or I don't like this, respect it and change it. Don't say this guy couldn't get it. Maybe if he cannot get it, 50 other people are not going to get it, and that's it. So try to really use that knowledge from the customers to try to get something that is doable. And whether it's your pricing, whether it's how you position, whether it's your product, try to be very flexible on that. Because that's where people, they are very bullish about how they want to do it, and they cannot really change fast enough. So being flexible was kind of the important thing. But again, the motivation came from the desire to succeed.
Hi, Hristo. Very nice presentation. My name is Tudor. Are you and Payhawk open to partner with the other fintech company to issue IBAN account and cards for their clients, for these fintech company clients?
Yeah, of course. We are speaking to a lot of companies in the space. So if it's the right opportunity, one thing to partnerships that we have always done is let's go and suggest this value proposition, joint value proposition to a customer, would they buy it or not, right? Because a lot of people jump and build partnerships and they go and try to sell it to customers. In our case, the right partnership is first referral. Let's go and try to do something together and refer each other if we have complementary products, or try to sell them this joint proposition. If they're not buying it, there is no point for us to invest further. So, of course, we are open, but it needs to be done in the right way, because you have limited resources. Even when you're 300 people, you have opportunity cost. You have a lot of things you need to focus on, and keeping sharp focus is really important.
Hristo, thank you very much for the last chart. It's very useful, eye-opening. One question though, please. Any suggestions on how to stop micromanaging along the way, or how to develop the self-mastery not to micromanage people as you move from left to right? Thank you.
Well, I think the important thing when it comes to micromanagement is building a discipline where, you're trusting people and you're setting the expectation that it's okay for them to fail and they don't have a fear, and you are going to support them in that phase, and you're going to push them to fail once or twice or 3 times in a more controlled way. It's like, helping a child walk. You put them in a safe environment with cushions, until they learn, right? And I think this is the right way to actually set the expectation that it's okay to fail, support them and encourage them to try things, and leave them in a way where if they fail, it's not going to be harmful to you, right? Because you are micromanaging them because you're concerned they're going to fail. And maybe they're going to fail, and maybe it's going to be a big stake. So don't try to, let's release the control slowly and in a way where they can gain it. Otherwise, I have seen really bad cases where somebody new comes in, you drop them the box of problems, you tell them, you go, and then every step they're making, you're like, not this, no, not that, That's the wrong way. You have to find the right slow way to help this person get comfortable, get confidence, and then, you're going to get to a stage where it's going to be really working. Or if the person is not able to get and pick this up, maybe this is the wrong person.
Thank you very much. I have a question about defining the big problem, as you told us in the beginning. You said that you manage company spending, right? Right now, what happens is that employees spend money from their own pocket, they go buy stuff, they keep the receipts. The next day, they go to the accountant and maybe fill out a form, right? So when I hear this story, I don't see the big problem here, me being outside of things. And maybe many other people have come across this and didn't see it was a big problem. So my question to you is this: what signals did you see that this was a big problem? How did you test that it was a big problem? How did you validate it?
Exactly.
How did you...
Yeah. So that is a very small problem. That is not what's going to make a unicorn. The bigger problem is, why is this so? Because people are not trusting their employees with cards. Why? Because finance people cannot put controls on cards. Why? Because their bank is not a software company, and the bank only cares about giving them a card. As soon as an employee swipes the card and the payment is accepted, the bank has done its job. But for a business, this is the point in time when the problem starts. Was I allowed to spend those money? To whom I should give this receipt? Who is going to extract data from this receipt? Who is going to reconcile it into the company statements? And if you think about the big picture, let's say a coffee that costs €1 might cost €4 for the company to reconcile this expense when it goes through the whole cycle. So that is the big problem. The big problem is that banks never care about solving the problem of the businesses because they're not software companies and they're ignorant. And that is the weakness. And if you go and think about how many problems, this is one, we're solving 40 more into that space, you're going to solve, you start going to peel the onion. You're going to start and layer over a problem after problem after problem. And then, the big problem is that banks are not software companies. That's the big market, right? And it means that businesses today are forced to use technologies that were come up with 40 years ago. The credit card is 55 years ago. We didn't invent the credit card. We invented how you manage it and what is the process around it and what you can do with this. So you need to really ask yourself 5 times why you are there to get to the core of the problem.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we have one last question around there. Yes, perfect.
Thank you for your time and the presentation. It was lovely, although I might say from the beginning, it was quite late and a lot of writing, so kind of lost me in the beginning, but very interesting table. I loved the messages all around. And maybe one last question would be, what do you think are the 3 main skills that you think for a startup to be successful, what do you need as a CEO of a startup to be successful?
Well, in my case, I would say, low ego is very, very important. Very important. You need to be very transparent and very direct, and you need to be very pragmatic about, not delusional. You need to be very pragmatic about what you're hearing. I think you need to be one that, at the end of the day, understands the why and is able to pass it to others. Because at the end of the day, people are joining it. The truth is that the first employees and the first customers are not buying your product. They're not buying. They're buying you. So at the end of the day, you are selling yourself. You're selling that these people can come and work with you to create that vision. You're selling to these customers yourself that you're going to be able to build this product. And at the end of the day, you have to be able to explain them the main reason. And if your motivation is getting rich or having the wrong incentive, that's going to be really hard. So you need to be very honest. You need to be very transparent. You need to be very, to have a low ego, to be okay to get rejected 55 times a day, and to be able to still wake up in the next day and come to work again and start again. So I think these are really important skills you need to have. And you also need to be fair. To me, this has been a really strong principle over the years, to be extremely fair with how we provide equity, how we reward employees, and how we run an environment that is not having exceptions. Still today, we are a company with 180 million in the bank account, and we are sharing a room with one of our BDRs, right? So that's the example we're giving, because the whole leadership team goes on an offsite, everybody shares the room. That's the principle. We are still a startup, we still haven't become the gorilla, and we want to maximize our chance of success. And that's not something that you're going to come up with if you don't have the why and initial inspiration, and people are buying this, and people are joining your company because of this, and you're able to motivate other people because of that. You have to be genuine.
Thank you. That was a great answer for me. Best of luck for your future endeavors.
Okay, thank you.